Rep 4000. Steam rising off her shoulders in the dark, floodlights buzzing over empty seats, and she's not even close to done. Her name, we'll call her Maren. 22 years old, wiry and pale, mid-pack in a sport half her hometown couldn't even name. Everybody back home figured she was wasting the best years of her 20s out on the ice. Here's what none of them knew. Her body was already learning something her results hadn't shown yet. By the end of this, you'll understand why the season nobody films is the one that quietly decides everything. Keep that empty grandstand in your mind. We are coming back to it twice. Picture the routine. Push the sled, sprint the ice in spiked shoes, drop, ride, drag it back, climb the stairs, do it again. Her thighs burn, her lungs tear at the cold, and the clock says she finished 7th last week. 7th. Again. The floodlights hum. Sleet ticks against the metal rails like a clock nobody set. Somewhere in a warm apartment, her friends are asleep, and she's out here in the dark, shaving hundredths of a second off a run that maybe 12 people in the world will ever care about. People ask me why, Maren said once, scraping frost off her visor with a cracked thumbnail. Why grind a whole year just to finish in the middle? Why do this for a sport nobody at home has ever heard of? She looked out at the empty stands row after row of cold aluminum, glazed in ice. I don't have a clean answer for them. I just know the sled doesn't care who's watching. The ice keeps score even when nobody else does. So I show up, and I do the rep again. She wasn't always alone out there. Early that season, she had a training partner, call him Theo. Broad shoulders, buzzed sandy hair, a scuffed Navy team jacket he never zipped all the way up. Faster than her, honestly. More raw talent in his push start than she'd built in 2 years of grinding. The two of them would trade times in the dark, breath clouding between them, laughing at how insane it was to love something this cold, this thankless, this completely invisible to the rest of the world. Then midway through the season, something in Theo went quiet. I keep asking myself, he told her one night, boots crunching toward the parking lot, why grind for a sport nobody back home has even heard of? We finish mid-pack. No crowd, no money, no point. He wasn't wrong on the facts. That's exactly what made it dangerous. Everything he said was true, and true things are the hardest voice in the world to argue with at 4 in the morning, when your legs are shot and the stands are empty. So Theo left, packed his sled, shook her hand, and drove down the mountain toward a normal life. And honestly, most people would call that the smart move. That's the exact moment this story could have ended. One girl, no partner, no crowd, no proof that any of it was working. Just 7th place and a long, cold winter of the same reps repeated into the dark. Pause the story right here for a second. Think about the last thing you quit, not because it was wrong, but because nobody was clapping for it. Maren stayed, not because she felt strong, because she'd run out of reasons that satisfied anyone but herself. I decided I'd rather lose a season alone than protect myself by quitting, she said. And it cost her. Her closest friend on the ice was gone. The doubt got louder now, with nobody there to laugh it off. Every single morning she chose the empty track over the warm bed, and every single morning that choice took something out of her she wasn't sure she'd ever get back. Here's the part almost nobody sees. When you drill a movement thousands of times, your brain doesn't just remember it, it physically rewires for it. Motor patterns get encoded deep in the cerebellum and the basal ganglia until the skill fires faster than conscious thought. Which means a body can be quietly mastering something long before the scoreboard ever admits it. Those mid-pack finishes weren't failure. Underneath the surface, down in the wiring, Maren was already becoming someone her results hadn't caught up to yet. That's the cruel math of the quiet years. The growth is real, but it's invisible, buried in tissue and reflex, showing up on no leaderboard and in no highlight reel. You do the rep, nothing changes on the outside. You do it again. Still nothing. And the whole time underneath, the machine is being built. Theo left before the wiring finished. Maren didn't. The only difference between those two wasn't talent, and it was never luck. It was who kept showing up after the applause never came. Now jump forward. Same mountain, same track, 1 year later. The air is different though. Flags snapping, a real crowd packed in, the low roar of a Winter Games qualifier. Maren stands at the top of the start, gloved hands on the same sled, her breath fogging exactly the way it did in all those empty mornings nobody saw. The clock is armed. Everything she buried out here in the dark is about to get its one loud answer. She rocks back once, and then she throws herself down the ice. Where did she come from? The commentator blurts as her splits flash green across the board. Top 3. A podium time on a track that ate her alive a year ago. Incredible and absolutely sudden breakthrough from a slider nobody had on their board. Sudden. That's the word they always reach for. The crowd is on its feet now. The camera's finally swinging her way, and every screen in the arena is lighting up with a name half of them still can't even pronounce. Sudden, I want you to sit with that word for a second. Because from where the whole world was standing, it looked like lightning out of nowhere, overnight lucky. But you were there for the other version. You saw the empty stands, the sleet, rep number 4000 at 4 in the morning, the partner who drove away and the girl who didn't. There was nothing sudden about any of it. It was one full year of invisible reps, finally becoming visible in a single, roaring run. Cut back one more time, to the cold aluminum seats with nobody in them, to the hum of the floodlights and the tick of sleet on steel, to a girl dragging a sled up the stairs for the 10,000th time, thighs shaking, no camera, no crowd, no proof it would ever pay off. That right there is where the podium was actually built. Not in the loud run everyone saw, in the silent ones nobody did. The breakthrough had a birthplace, and its birthplace was empty. Somebody asked Maren after the podium if the win had felt sudden to her too. She almost laughed at the question. It felt like the slowest thing I've ever done in my life, she said. People saw one run. I lived 4,000 of them that nobody watched. Then quieter, the frost still on her lashes. The season they filmed isn't the one that made me. The one nobody filmed is. She wasn't bitter about the empty stands anymore. She'd finally figured out exactly what they were really for. And that's the thing I really need you to take with you. Whatever you're grinding at in the dark right now, the reps nobody's clapping for, the work with no audience, that is not the boring part before the story starts. That is the story. If you're building something in the quiet and you're sick of everyone missing it, subscribe. This channel is for people who do the rep when no one is watching. That's the whole point of us. This is your tribe. Stay with me. So the next time your alarm screams at 4 in the morning and there's no crowd, no camera, no one keeping score but you, remember Maren on that empty track. The applause is always late. It shows up a full year after the work that actually earned it. Do the invisible rep anyway. Trust the wiring you can't see yet. Because the version of you that wins next season is being built, right now, in the exact season nobody is watching you do it. If you're grinding through something nobody sees, this one was for you. Maren stood on that podium a full year after the season everyone ignored, and she finally understood what the empty stands were really for. They weren't the punishment, they were the forge. So do your work in the dark and let them call it sudden later. The rep no camera sees is the one that changes everything. The empty stands build the loudest wins. I'm Cole. Subscribe, a new story like this every evening.